I knew you were going to do that, which is why I stayed kind of still.
He knows me so well. Hi, I'm Hannah.
And I'm Shay, and we're Dinner National.
Today we're making Hungarian food.
In the heart of Central Europe lies Hungary, a landlocked country brimming with its own culture and traditions. The people of Hungary, the Magyar people, have helped shape the culinary practices of this European nation, and vice versa. A nomadic people, the Magyars relied heavily on livestock, as well as fresh breads and seasonal vegetables and fruits to help sustain them in the cold winters. Hungarian cuisine combines the culinary styles of Central and Eastern Europe while still setting itself apart with its world-famous salamis, distinctive fruit soups, and liberal use of paprika. Today, we're making the classic chicken paprikash, a paprika-heavy dish teeming with flavor and served with nokedli, a rustic homemade pasta similar to German spaetzle. On the side, we made Töltött káposzta, stuffed cabbage rolls smothered in tasty tomato sauce, as well as a fresh cucumber and dill salad.
Let's get started.
We're gonna get started with the cabbage rolls, or Töltött káposzta. Töltött káposzta. Káposzta. Töltött káposzta. Okay. I have one large onion that has been minced up very finely. And I'm pouring this into 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil. We're just gonna cook these until they're translucent. We don't need to brown them, but half of our onions are gonna be going into our meat mixture and half are going to be going into the sauce. I'm gonna add some salt in here. All right, our onions are looking translucent. I'm gonna turn off the heat and I'm gonna add 1.5 to 2 tablespoons of paprika. And yes, that's right, I said tablespoons, not teaspoons. I mean, we're talking about Hungary here. So this is a pretty paprika forward cuisine. So this should be a pretty deep red color when you're done. In fact, many of the things we read said if it's orange, put more paprika. So, you know, keep that in mind. Oh yeah, this is looking quite red. I think this is a good amount. We're gonna get started with the meat mixture for the cabbage rolls. I'm going to put in 250 grams of ground pork into this bowl. And into that, we're going to mix 1 egg, 2 cloves of garlic finely minced. This is a 1/4 cup of white rice, unrinsed and uncooked. This is half a teaspoon of ground black pepper and a little bit of salt. You don't want this to be undersalted. I didn't actually throw the salt. And so you know that onion mixture we just made? We're gonna put half of it in here with the meat.
And the other half is going to form the base for our cabbage rolls.
I'm just gonna eyeball it. I mean, it doesn't have to be exact. Mix this until it is well incorporated. All right, so we're gonna roll up these cabbage rolls. We boiled half a head of cabbage because we had half a head. Boil a whole head if you have it. But we're only making 8 cabbage rolls, so you don't need that many. We boiled this for 30 seconds to a minute just to soften the leaves up a little bit and make them more pliable. I'm going to put in about 2 tablespoons of this meat mixture into one of the cabbage leaves that I flattened, and we're just gonna roll this guy up. We might need more than 1 cabbage leaf because we cut it in half to cover this whole thing, but we'll see. We're just gonna play it by ear. All right, it is time to make the topping for this dish. So this is a really cozy dish, I'm sure you could tell, because there's like a blanket of cabbage surrounding this pork, and we're going to make another blanket of cabbage because what else does this dish need but more cabbage and more pork. This is half a pound of sauerkraut, and I'm gonna mix into that a couple teaspoons of caraway seeds and the rest of our paprika, which is about 1.5 to 2 teaspoons, and a few bay leaves. And I'm gonna combine this and sprinkle it on top of the cabbage. Try to put this in an even layer over the cabbage rolls. All right, so preheat your oven to 350 because this is about to be cooked. Like I said earlier, we're gonna add more pork to this. This is completely optional. If you wanna go a little light on the pork, that's totally fine. But we're gonna put some kielbasa in here. That's a Polish sausage, but we're gonna use it anyway for Hungary because what we have, it's gonna work. So I'm just gonna kind of nestle these in a pretty pattern into the sauerkraut. Just kind of, you know, tuck them in there, make them look nice. Write your name, whatever. Look at that. All right, that's such a pretty pattern. So this is half a can of crushed tomatoes, or I guess these are diced tomatoes. I'm just gonna pour this over the top. If you don't have these, you could just use all water, but I wanted a mixture of tomatoes and water. And this is 1 cup of water that I'm gonna pour over the top. So this is ready to go in the oven for 1 or 2 hours at 350 degrees. Yet another cucumber salad, guys. I know you're probably thinking, this is nuts, but this is truly what people are eating all around the world. A variation of sliced cucumbers. So I have 1 English cucumber that I've sliced up into little rings. This is about 3 sprigs of fresh dill that I've chopped. This is 1 tablespoon of white vinegar. This is 1 teaspoon of paprika, more paprika. 1 garlic clove that's been minced pretty finely. Half a teaspoon of salt and some freshly ground black pepper. Give it a good mix and keep it in the fridge until you're ready to eat.
Chicken paprikash is probably the most popular culinary export of Hungary. So this is like a really tasty braised chicken dish. This is probably the only Hungarian dish I've eaten before, but I really liked it. I hope you will too. So I've got a decent amount of oil, like about 3 tablespoons, heating up over medium-high heat. All we're gonna do is sear this chicken just in order to give it a little bit of browning. All we're adding at this stage is salt. These are like some pretty big pieces of chicken, so you want to make sure that they're salted adequately. I'm gonna massage it with my hands. I got chicken on both my hands, so I'm gonna have to go wash my hands. Okay. So let's salt the other side. So this dish is pretty mildly spiced, and for the most part, paprika is the star of the show. So I'm just gonna rub this in, and I'm gonna put these chicken leg quarters, skin on, bone in. You can always use a different cut of chicken if that is what you have. My oil seems pretty hot, so I'm just gonna fry these. Just sear these guys skin side down. The important thing is not to move it a lot for the next 2 or 3 minutes. Don't even touch it. So like about 2 to 3 minutes, give it a nice flip, and then sear it on the other side as well. Okay, so it looks like my meat is golden brown on both sides. So I'm just gonna pull these guys off of the flame. Golden brown. So the other ingredients of this stew will go into the same oil. There's a little bit of like browning at the bottom. It looks really good. So I'm just gonna add 1 large onion that we've diced up. Oil is hot, please be careful. Okay. So I'm just gonna saute this until it's like nice and brown. And in the meantime, our chicken can still continue to rest over here. Make sure you scrape up all the burnt bits at the bottom, because the burnt bits is where the flavor is at. The smell of onion frying is so delicious. So our onions are nice and golden brown, so I'm gonna add some garlic in there. These are 2 cloves of garlic that are minced up really fine. And these are 2 Roma tomatoes. Right. So I'm gonna switch this off. This is off of the heat, and this is kind of important because the star of the show, paprika, can get scorched. And if it gets scorched, it gets bitter. So these are 3 tablespoons of paprika. Hungarians love paprika. Clearly, right? It's a beautiful red color. Yummy. I'm actually really excited about this dish. So now it's time for me to nestle my chicken pieces back inside this paprika mixture. Our chicken leg quarters were only like lightly browned. So the idea was not to like cook it up, but you know, just to sear it a little bit. Okay, so these have been tucked in real nice. Make sure you pour any of the accumulated juices back, because that's where all the flavor is. We like the extra flavor. Turn the heat back on, and this is 2 cups of water. Feel free to use broth if you have it. I don't have the broth. And these are 2 teaspoons of bouillon. Our chicken is boiling, so I'm gonna cover this, turn it to low, and let it simmer for 45 minutes. See you in 45. The traditional accompaniment for a paprikash is always a nokedli. What is a nokedli? This is quite similar to the German spaetzle that we saw a couple of weeks ago, but this is a traditional accompaniment for a paprikash. So we're just gonna roll with it. So this is 2 cups of flour. I'm just gonna add some salt into this. This is half a teaspoon. I'm gonna pour in 2 eggs. I'm just gonna stir this to incorporate. So we want a runny dough. I started boiling a bunch of water because it takes forever. Okay, so this is 3/4 cups of water. I'm just gonna keep adding a little bit at a time. That's about 1/4 cup. Give it a nice stir and keep adding the water little by little. I think this needs more water. So I'm gonna add another 1/4 cup. Okay, this looks pretty good. My water is boiling, so I'm gonna start making my dumplings. Dumplings? Noodles? Pasta? Nice. Pushing it down little by little. So when these little guys are done, as you can see, they'll start to float. It would be much better if you had like a spaetzle or nokedli maker. We're just gonna use our slotted spoon. This works pretty well. All right, so I have 2 tablespoons of butter over here. Last time we used bacon, but this time we're just doing butter. Keeping it a little bit light. I'm gonna add my cooked pasta in there. This is just like an optional step, but who doesn't like a little bit of extra flavor, right? Give this a nice stir. Make sure all your noodles are adequately buttered. Okay, I'm getting hungry. So our paprikash has been cooking for 45 minutes. It was actually like about 50 minutes. So I'm just gonna pull these out and finish up the sauce. This thing is falling apart and it smells delicious. So I have got 1 cup of sour cream in there. 1 cup. And this is 2 tablespoons of flour. I'm just gonna mix this in there. And I left this sour cream out for a couple of minutes to bring this up to room temperature. I've got my pot going on medium-high heat. I'm gonna add this into my paprikash. Give this a nice stir. Smells really yummy. Are you mic'd?
I am mic'd. No, I'm not Mike. I'm Hannah.
Hungary, you've been hiding all your delicious food.
Yeah, I had no idea.
I cannot believe Hungarian food is this delicious.
It's really good.
Wow. Wow. The paprikash? Oh my god. I cannot believe it's got nothing in it. It's got like just paprika.
Yeah.
I cannot imagine the depth of flavor. And the butter in the nokedli, of course, it's a great touch. Of course, bacon is a really good flavor, but you know, just with the butter is great too. And the sauerkraut works like really well with the whole thing.
Yeah. The cabbage rolls are really tasty. I was a little concerned because we put the raw meat inside the cabbage and it kind of just braised, but it's really, really good. It's kind of tender. It reminds me of the inside of like a dumpling or gyoza.
Can I try some of that? I haven't had any of that.
Yeah, let me just cut some for you.
In the meantime, guys, I mean, let me tell you about the chicken. The chicken is like just falling apart. It's like so super tender. It almost reminds me of the Ghanaian groundnut soup because it's got this tomatoey, rich, brothy kind of
I've got one for you.
Yum.
It's big. Oh, yes. It's good.
It's amazing.
Yeah, I like that pickled cabbage in there. I mean, I know it's double cabbage, double pork, but I'm telling you guys, it needed it. It needed to be.
Honestly, I don't even like cabbage, but wow. This has been like a surprise success overall.
We almost didn't do a hungry episode. We weren't
I know,
sure.
because there's so many delicious cuisines in Europe. We're so glad we made Hungary. Wow.
You know, I haven't even tried the chicken yet. That is so good.
And how's that sausage? That sausage works really well too, huh? And the cucumber salad, of course. You need something like tart to cut through the whole thing, and it's beautiful. It just works. Why complicate something that's simple?
It's true.
Wow. Hungary, you won our hearts. All right, guys, so we're gonna finish eating this delicious, 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 delicious meal, and we'll see you next week.